They weren't supposed to be here. The sky was dark, filled with smoke and fire. The forest burned slowly, trees turning black and ashes falling like snow. Between the flames, a shadow moved fast, careful, afraid. Her name was Solara. She wasn't human. She held her little daughter Lyra close to her chest. Lyra's skin glowed faint blue, just like her mother's. Solara's long fingers covered the child's head as she ran through the forest. Her breathing was heavy. Her heart beat like a war drum. Behind her, voices shouted. Human soldiers were chasing her. They weren't supposed to be here. The humans promised this area was safe for her kind, the Celerans, but promises were always broken. During war, an arrow flew through the trees, silent. Deadly Solara heard the whistle, turned just in time, and threw herself around Lyra. The arrow hit her back. Pain exploded through her body. She fell to the ground, holding her daughter tightly. Lyra cried, her small hands shaking her mother's face. Solara tried to speak, but her lips trembled. Her body felt heavy. She had to protect her daughter. No matter what. Then from the tree's footsteps, a human stepped into view. A young man in armor. He had a rifle on his back and fear in his eyes. His name was Elier. He was a scout sent to look for survivors. For enemies, he pointed his weapon, but froze. There she was, an alien mother, hurt, bleeding, holding a child. Not a weapon in sight. No attack. No threat. Just fear. Just pain. Elier looked into the child's eyes. Lyra wasn't even 5 years old. She was scared, not dangerous. His radio clicked. Report, Scout 12. Any sign of movement in Sector 3? He stared at the alien mother. She looked half-conscious. The child looked at him like she was begging. He pressed his radio slowly. No sign. Command. Sector 3 is clear. Elier lowered his weapon and stepped closer. Solara tried to move. Her body was weak, but her will was strong. She wouldn't let him take her daughter. I'm not here to hurt you, Elier said, soft and slow. Please, don't move. You're hurt. Solara didn't understand every word, but she could feel his voice calm, not angry. Lyra looked at him too. Her tears stopped. She touched her mother's face, whispering in their language. Elier bent down and checked the wound. The arrow had gone deep. Blood, silver and warm, was soaking her back. This will kill her, he whispered. She won't last long. He looked around. The other soldiers would arrive soon. They found her, they would shoot her. No questions, no mercy. Orders were clear. No alien survives. Elier had a choice. Leave her to die, or break every rule he knew. He looked at the child, at her tiny hands. Her shaking breath. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around Solara. Then, carefully, he lifted her in his arms. She was cold, light, but heavy with pain. Hang on, he whispered. I'm not your enemy. Lyra walked beside him, still quiet, still watching. He moved fast, avoiding open paths. There was an old bunker not far, maybe 20 minutes. He had to reach it before command sent drones. Behind him, a voice echoed through the forest. Scout 12, report again. Did you hear that noise? Elier didn't answer. He reached the bunker, an old building from the early war days. Covered in moss, forgotten by most. The door was broken, but inside it was dry. He laid Solara on a dusty blanket. Lyra sat next to her, holding her hand. The child looked up at Elier and spoke one word. Help. Elier sat down, breathing hard. He didn't know what he had just done. He had helped the enemy, protected an alien, lead to his team. But in that moment, they weren't enemies. They were just a mother and a child running from death, trying to live. Solara's chest moved slowly. She was alive, but for how long? Outside, the sound of engines. Soldiers were getting closer. Inside, silence, heavy, tense, dangerous, and Elier knew there was no going back now. The shelter was silent. Old walls, cracked roof, dust in the air. But inside, 3 lives were changing. Solara still lay unconscious, her skin pale blue, her body cold. She breathed, but just barely. The arrow wound on her back had stopped bleeding, but that didn't mean she was safe. Elier sat beside her. His rifle was across the room. For the first time in months, he wasn't wearing his armor. Just his undershirt, dirty and torn. His hands were shaking. He had just saved an alien, the very people he was trained to fight. In the corner of the room, the little girl Lyra sat curled up, hugging her knees. Her eyes watched everything. She didn't speak. She didn't cry anymore. But her eyes were wide, sharp, not scared now, just waiting. Elier looked at her. She looked back. He moved slowly, reached into his bag, and took out a small silver packet, a military food bar. He opened it and slid it across the floor toward her. Lyra didn't move. Her eyes flicked to her mother, then back to Elier. "It's food," he said softly. "Eat. You need it." No answer. Just silence. Elier leaned back against the wall. His body ached. His mind was louder than the forest outside. He had broken orders, lied to his command, hidden an alien fugitive. What now? His radio buzzed again. "Scout 12. Where are you? Report. This is your final call." He turned it off. Lyra finally moved. She crawled to her mother's side and touched her face gently. Then she reached out with her tiny hand and picked up the food bar. She sniffed it, broke off a small piece, and put it in her mouth. She didn't say thank you. But Elier didn't expect her to. Later that night, Solara stirred. Her eyes blinked open, soft silver in the dark. She gasped and tried to rise, but her body failed. Pain made her wince. Elier rushed forward. "It's okay. You're safe. Don't move." Solara's eyes focused on him. Her lips opened, but no words came. Just breath, just fear. "I'm not going to hurt you," Elier said. "I carried you here. You were shot." Solara blinked. Her voice, when it came, was soft, broken. "Lyra, she's here." Elier pointed. "She's okay." Solara turned her head. Lyra was asleep beside her, breathing softly. Her tiny fingers held. Her mother's Elier didn't know what else to say. So he sat again. After a moment, Solara whispered, "Why? Help us." Elier looked at her. The question hit hard. He remembered the battlefield, burning cities, screaming soldiers, the sound of plasma and fire. And in the middle of all that, one moment, a Celeran doctor, helping a wounded human boy, ignoring the gun pointed at her, saving a child who wasn't hers. That moment never left Elier. "Because not all enemies are enemies," he said quietly, "and not all orders are right." Solara closed her eyes. A tear slipped down her cheek. Whether it was pain, sadness, or relief, even she didn't know. Morning came cold and gray. Lyra woke up first. She stood and walked to Elier, still half asleep. She looked up and handed him something. A drawing done in ash on old paper. 3 figures. A tall one, a small one, and one with a human face. Elier stared. "Is this us?" Lyra nodded, then pointed to the sky and said one word. "Home." Solara translated, voice weak. She remembers. The path, ... home. Elier's heart sank. That path might no longer exist. He stepped outside, scanned the area. No movement yet. But command would be searching soon. He returned to the bunker and looked at both of them. He had a decision to make. This wasn't a rescue anymore. It was now a mission, a promise. A journey. He took his pack and began filling it with supplies. Water, blankets, meds. He didn't say anything. Solara watched him. "You leave?" Elier looked at her. "No, I'm coming with you." She blinked. "Why?" "Because you won't make it alone," he said. "And because your daughter just reminded me who I used to be." Lyra walked over and took his hand. And for the first time, Solara didn't stop her. Lyra had never seen the stars this close. They looked like small, cold eyes in the sky, watching from above, silent and strange. She sat on Elier's shoulders as they moved through the broken forest. Trees stood like burnt bones. The ground cracked under their feet. Her mother walked slowly behind them, her steps weak but steady. Elier had made a stretcher, but Solara refused to lie down anymore. "I need to move," she had said. "If I stop, I'll never start again." Lyra didn't understand all the words, but she understood her mother's pain. She also understood one thing clearly. The human wasn't like the others. Elier didn't smell like fear or hate. He didn't yell or point guns. T gave her food, carried. Her made fire to keep them warm. Even his voice was soft, like the river they once lived near. But trust was a dangerous thing. Solara still didn't sleep when Elier was awake. And Elier always kept his weapon nearby, even when he smiled. They reached an old concrete tunnel by afternoon. It was half covered in vines and shadow, but dry inside. "Rest here," Elier said. "I'll check the perimeter." Solara leaned against the wall and nodded. "Be quick." Elier disappeared into the trees. Lyra sat next to her mother and pulled a small folded cloth from her pocket. It was full of drawings, lines, shapes, stars. A map. She pointed to one of the marks and whispered, "Safe." Solara smiled faintly. "I hope so." Just then, a strange sound echoed, not from outside, but inside the tunnel. A low, clicking growl. Solara stood up fast, pulling Lyra behind her. Her hand glowed faint blue, the last bit of energy she had saved. From the darkness, red lights flickered. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It was machine. A Macound, a leftover hunter drone from the early war, built to track heat, blood, and alien signals. And it had found them. The machine stepped forward, slow and heavy. Its metal legs made sharp clicking sounds, and its head scanned the space with a buzzing noise. It had no eyes, just a red sensor that locked on Solara's glowing hand. Lyra screamed. The mech charged. Solara threw her hand forward. A blue pulse shot out and hit the metal beast, but it didn't stop. Just sparked, staggered, then roared louder. She pushed Lyra aside. The beast leaped, then bang. A loud shot rang out. The mech's shoulder burst into fire. It crashed to the ground, still moving, still alive. Elier appeared behind it, holding his rifle. He ran forward, aimed again, and shot 2 more times. Metal cracked. Sparks flew. The beast finally stopped moving. Smoke rose in the tunnel. Lyra crawled back to her mother. Solara was breathing hard, her hands trembling. Elier kicked the mech's body once, just to be sure, then dropped to one knee. "Are you hurt?" Solara looked at him. "No, but it found us. Why?" Elier frowned. He scanned the mech's body. His eyes stopped at the broken panel inside. Something blinked red. A tracker. He looked at Solara. "Did you activate anything?" She shook her head. "Nothing." Lyra, quiet now, pulled out the small map cloth again. There at the corner was a faint glow. A signal mark. Elier's face hardened. "That map, it's broadcasting." Solara's eyes widened. "We didn't know. It's how they Found you, Elier said. Not just this mech, others may follow. He took the cloth gently and wrapped it in metal foil from his gear. This will block it. For now, the three of them sat in silence. Lyra didn't understand everything. But she understood enough. She hugged her mother tight. Her mother was shaking. Not from pain this time, from fear. Elier sat beside them. They'll come again, Solara whispered. Yes, he said. What do we do? Liar. Looked at the map, then at the stars outside the tunnel. We keep moving, he said, but now we stay low and fast. No more rest. Lyra reached out and touched his hand. Elier looked down. She drew something with her finger on his palm. A small star. A sign of hope. He smiled just for a second. But outside, in the dark, other things were moving. Solara had always believed she was strong. She had trained as a healer. But inside, she was more than that. A protector, a fighter, a mother. She had watched cities fall, friends vanish, and her world break apart. But nothing had ever scared her more than the small hand-holding. Hers now, her daughter, Lyra. They walked fast through a narrow path, hidden between tall, blackened trees. Elier led the way with his scanner, checking for traps or signals. The forest was quiet, but not peaceful. Too quiet, like even the birds were holding their breath. Solara limped slightly. The arrow wound in her back burned more with every step. But she didn't complain. A mother doesn't complain, not when her child still believes she's unbreakable. Up ahead, Lyra raised his hand. Wait, he said, his voice low. Look. They stopped behind him. Between the thick vines and fallen branches, an old structure appeared, part metal, part stone, covered in moss. A half-buried bunker, the kind built before the war, used by both humans and Celarans for peace meetings before the peace died. Elior looked at Solara. This place wasn't on the map. Could be a good hiding spot, maybe even supplies. Solara nodded slowly. Or a trap. He gave a short smile. That too. They entered. Inside. Dust danced in the beams of sunlight, cutting through broken ceilings. Rusted consoles, cracked screens, and a long hallway greeted them. But no danger, no sounds. Just time. Frozen Lyra walked in carefully, looking around, with wide eyes. Then she stopped in front of a wall, painted on it a symbol. A Celeron, a crest. She touched it gently. Solara stepped forward. This was ours once. Before the war, Elia looked closer. Why is it still standing? Because even humans forgot it existed, she said. This place was for talks, for peace. They found an old control panel, still had power. Barely Solara moved closer and placed her hand on it. Her touch lit up the display. Old data loaded slowly, broken messages, incomplete coordinates. But one message was still clear. Safe zone. Active signal confirmed to 6.3 miles north. Solara's eyes widened. There's still a safe zone. Elia narrowed his eyes. Or it's a trap to catch survivors like you. We have to try, she said firmly. Lyra can't keep running forever. Elier hesitated, then nodded. They packed a few supplies from the bunker water, a working medkit, and an old Celeron beacon. The beacon was dusty and silent, but Solara held it like a piece of her past. Outside again, the wind had picked up. The sky was turning gray as they continued north. The path narrowed. Vines thickened. The forest seemed to move around them, alive with whispers and old memories. Then, without warning, the ground shook. Elior turned. Something's coming. Lyra grabbed her mother's hand. From the trees, a screech, metal, and rage. Another macound, larger than before, leaped out. But this one wasn't hunting. It was running, chased from behind it. A roar filled the air. A wild ravager beast, native to Solara's world, but twisted by Earth's toxic air, crashed through the trees. All teeth, claws, and madness, it hit the Mech-Madrun, tearing it apart in seconds. Solara pulled Lyra behind a rock. Elie raised his rifle, but he knew this wasn't a fight he could win. The beast turned, sniffed, and roared again. Then a loud shriek echoed from the trees. Another sound, strange, musical, mechanical. The beast froze, a blinding blue. Light flashed from above. A cloaked Celeran drone descended slowly. Humming with soft energy, it projected a shield between the beast and them. The creature howled in confusion, then ran back into the woods. Elior stared. Solara's voice broke. The silence, they heard us. The beacon she carried was glowing. Lyra stepped forward, smiling, and waved at the drone. But then the drone flashed red, a warning. The voice from its core came in old Celeron dialect, but Solara understood every word, confirmed to Celerons. One human. Detained for decontamination. Elie raised an eyebrow. What did it say? Solara's face turned pale. They think you infected us. They don't trust humans either. Elie stepped back. You called them, but they'll take me. Might kill you. Lyra's smile faded. She ran to Elie and stood in front of him. The drone scanned her. Then paused. A second message played. Child is protector marked. Override, engaging, ... awaiting command. Solara looked at Elior. We have seconds, she said. If we run now, they might not follow. Elior didn't move. Your people won't give you another chance, and your people want me dead. Then, Lyra spoke one word. Together. She looked at both of them, her small hands stretched out, one to her mother, one to Elier. Solara hesitated, then grabbed both, and they ran as one. 3 years later, ... the room was quiet, except for the slow humming of machines. On the wall, a single photograph hung inside a steel frame. It showed a human, a Celeron, and a child, all holding hands, running through a forest. Beneath it, a title was engraved, Unknown Heroes, Peace Begins with Them. But no one really knew their full story. No one knew what happened that day. The day the last signal was sent. Now, ... Go back. Back to the forest. Back to the run. Solara, Elie, and Lyra ran fast, the trees blurring beside them. Behind them, the Celeron drone hovered for a moment, confused, then disappeared into the sky. Leaving them alone again, they didn't speak. There was no time after what felt like hours. They reached a cliffside. Below, a valley covered in fog, and in the center, a soft blue glow. Not natural, not random. A signal station. Old, broken, but alive. This is it, Elie said, breathing hard. This is the source of the safe zone signal. Solara frowned. It's too quiet. They climbed down carefully. The station was part metal, part stone, hidden in roots and vines. There was no one guarding it. No sounds. No footprints. Lyra held Solara's hand tighter. Inside, lights flickered weakly. The walls were covered in Celeron text and human language. 2.eli. R wiped dust off one panel. This was a joint site. Solara moved to the center console and placed her hand on it. The system responded. Old, slow, but still working. The screen showed a map of Earth, glowing dots across its surface. Only one was active. Backup safe zone. Signal delayed broadcast to one receiver linked Elie. Leaned forward, delayed. It means, Solara whispered. Someone already sent a signal, and it was received. By who? They didn't have to wait long. A noise came from the hallway. Boots, metal, multiple. Elie raised his weapon. Solara pulled Lyra behind her. From the shadows, a human soldier stepped out. But his weapon wasn't raised. His hands were up, and his face familiar, Elier. The man said, "What the hell are you doing here?" Elier stared. Captain Reich, his old commanding officer, from the first war months, reported missing over a year ago. "I thought you were dead." Reich laughed. "We all thought that, until we found this place." Behind him, more humans stepped out, not in regular armor, older, worn, patched together with Celeron tech. Some had Celeron marks on their clothes. "We've been living off-grid," Reich said. Humans and Celerons, together, refugees, survivors. Solara's eyes narrowed. "Why keep the signal active if you didn't want to be found?" Reich looked at her. "'Cause we were waiting for the right ones to find it." Then he looked at Lyra. "She's the reason, isn't she?" Elia stepped forward. "She's not a threat." Reich smiled. "No, she's a symbol." He reached into his coat and pulled out a chip. "Tease. This has the location of the last surviving Celeron vessel on Earth, buried, untouched. If we activate it, your people will come." Solara looked at him sharply. "Why give it to us now?" Reich's smile faded. "Because this world is dying. And maybe it's time we stop fighting over the pieces." The moment felt too calm. Too easy. Elia didn't lower his weapon. Solara didn't take her hand off Lyra's shoulder. Then Lyra turned to the sidewall. Something was blinking. A red light, not from the console. From the ceiling, Solara followed her gaze. A hidden drone, small, insect-like, attached to the wall. Watching, broadcasting, she gasped. "We've been tracked." Lyra spun around. "Reich, did you bring anyone else?" Reich looked confused. "No, I swear." Boom. The wall exploded. Outside, the night lit up with flame. More drones. Mechs. But not Celeron, not military. Private hunters, bounty forces. Paid to track rogue. Aliens. They had followed the signal to Dot, and now they had found everyone. Asterisk silence, not peace. The kind of silence that follows a blast where the air feels heavy. And your ears ring like they're underwater. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Dust floated around her like stars. Her fingers trembled. The floor was cracked under her body. She turned her head. Her mother Solara lay nearby, blood trailing from her mouth. A few feet away, Elier stood in the middle of smoke, gun raised. Eyes wide, breathing fast. The signal base was gone, broken in half, and with it the hope they had just started to believe in. The private bounty forces had attacked fast. No warning, no demands, just fire and force. Hired by those who wanted aliens dead and humans like Elier punished for helping them. Lyra crawled to her mother. Mama Solara's hand lifted weakly. "I'm here," Elier shouted. From across the room, his voice distant, like echo in a tunnel. "We have to move, now." The survivors from Reich's group were already running. Some dead, some wounded. Reich was gone, maybe buried in the rubble. Elier reached them and picked Solara up again, her blood soaking into his uniform. He looked down at Lyra. "You lead the way, run. Don't look back." And they ran, hours later. Deep inside the earth, they found shelter in an old transport tunnel. One that used to connect hidden bunkers long ago. Abandoned, cold, safe. For now, Solara lay on a mat of old cloth. Her breathing was uneven. Her wound had reopened. Lyra held her hand and tried not to cry. Elier dug through their bag. No more med gel, no injectors. Nothing left. "She needs alien medicine," Lyra whispered. "You said that before." Elier nodded. "And I know where to get it." He pulled out a small device from his pocket, a locator with a red blinking dot. "There's a black site, Underground, old battlefield hospital. Half human, half Celeron tech. I can break in. Solara opened her eyes. No, too far. You'll be caught. I've done worse, he said, but I won't leave. You, unless you let me. She stared at him, the human who had become her shield, her friend, her child's protector. She nodded once. Come back, or don't come at all. Elier smiled faintly. That's the plan. He handed Lyra his dog tag. If I don't return before sunrise, press this. It'll show you a map. Where will it lead us? Lyra asked. To someone? I trust, he said. She'll help you finish the journey. Lyra grabbed his hand tightly. But I trust you. Elier looked at her, this small, strong child, and felt something twist in his chest. I'll be back, he whispered. Then he was gone. Elsewhere, the black site, the underground hospital, was colder than the surface. Empty, but humming. With leftover energy, Elier moved like a shadow. He knew the codes, knew where cameras were blind. He had once guarded a place like this before he knew what truth was. He found the medicine vault. The symbol on the front was Celeron, a healer's mark. He opened it carefully. Inside vials, glowing, alive with biotech. He took two, then heard a voice behind him. Didn't expect to see you here? Elier froze. A soldier stepped out. Full armor, weapon drawn. I thought you were dead, the man said. Now I find you stealing alien medicine. Elier turned slowly. I'm not stealing. I'm saving someone. The soldier raised his weapon. You're a traitor now, Elier. Elier didn't blink. Maybe, but I sleep better than you. Bang, one shot. The soldier fell. Elier stood over him, breathing hard. There were lines, and he had just crossed another one. Back at the tunnel, Solara was shaking. Lyra kept checking the entrance, holding the dog tag tight. No sign of him. Every minute felt like glass breaking inside her chest. Then, footsteps. One figure appeared through the dark. Elior, blood on his face. Scratches on his arms, but alive, and holding the glowing vials, he dropped to his knees beside Solara, injected the serum. Her body arched, then relaxed. Her skin glowed faintly again. She heal, he said. Slowly, Lyra hugged him. Tightly. Solara, half awake, whispered, You came back. Elier smiled. Told you. Some lines are worth crossing. If you're seeing this, it means you made it. Or at least, someone did. My name is Elier. I'm a soldier. Or, I was. And this is not a war story, not really. This is about a promise I made to a girl who drew stars in ash. And to her mother, who shielded her with her life. The playback paused. Lyra, now older. A diplomat, dressed in silver and white, stared at the screen inside the Celeron Council Hall. Her eyes were calm, but her hands trembled, all around her. Leaders watched. None of them had met the man in the message. But for Lyra, he had been more than a hero. He had been home. Solara sat outside the tunnel entrance, watching the red sun rise slowly over the broken forest. Her body had healed mostly. Her energy had returned. But she would never be the same. Neither would Elier. He sat beside her. Legs crossed, hands covered in dirt and blaster burns. The rescue beacon they activated had been silent for 2 days. Then, that morning, it blinked. SELRN symbols danced across the device. Vessel inbound ETA. 6 hours. Solara turned to him. This is it. Elier didn't smile. You'll finally be safe, he said. Solara looked at him. We, not I. He shook his head. You know I can't go with you. You can, she said. We want you to. He exhaled slowly. Your people, they don't trust humans. And my people, I've betrayed them. Lyra ran up to them, holding something in her hands, a small plant growing in a broken helmet. She had found it near the tunnel, a sign that even in a dead place, life could begin again. "I'll plant this on the new world," she said. Elior smiled. "Promise?" She nodded. "Cross my heart." The Celeran vessel broke through the clouds like a ghost, long, silver, and silent. It hovered just above the ground, humming softly, scanning the area. Solara, Lyra, and Elior stepped into the open field. From the ship, a ramp unfolded. Celeran diplomats in white robes emerged. Their eyes scanned Solara and Lyra, and then paused at Elior. Solara stepped forward. "This human saved us. He protected your future ambassador." The lead Celeron looked at Lyra, then at the scar still visible on Solara's back. "No human has ever risked exile for one of us," he said quietly. Elior stepped back. "She doesn't need me anymore." Lyra ran to him. "You promised you'd stay until I was safe." "I did," he said, kneeling to meet her eyes. "And now you are." He handed her something the dog tag scratched, worn but intact. "Someday," he said, "you'll tell this story. Just make sure it ends with peace." Lyra held the tag to her chest. The Celeron diplomat turned to Elior. "You will not be welcomed in your own cities. And not all of ours will accept you either. But we offer one choice." Elior looked up. "Stay on our ship. Live in silence. Or stay here. Live in exile." He looked at Solara, then at Lyra, and finally at the earth around him, burned, cold, but still his. "I'll stay," he said. "If anyone comes again, they'll need someone who remembers why it mattered." Solara stepped forward. She hugged him for the first time. "You are not my enemy," she said. He smiled. "Neither were you." Lyra stood in the United Assembly on Earth. Behind her, the flag of both species waved. Two hands, one human, one Celeron, holding a single flower. She placed the dog tag into a glass case. The plaque read, "Elior, the one who chose peace." She turned to the crowd. He didn't have powers. He didn't fly. He wasn't born for greatness. He simply chose to protect someone who wasn't his. And that choice changed everything. A figure walks through a garden where wild trees have grown over ruins. He's older now. In his beard, quiet in his steps, he kneels beside a sprout. Growing inside an old soldier's helmet, he smiles, and for the first time in a long time, the world feels alive again.